Hello and welcome to the show. I am Andrew Laird, joined today by my good friend, Mike Zakarian, to talk about, making content and stuff. Mike, have you ever heard that music?
No, I haven't. That's how I was going to start. I don't think I've ever caught the beginning. I'm ready to run through a wall
Hell
right
yeah,
now.
man.
Especially with Mission Impossible about to come out. I got some of those vibes. Like I feel like I'm about to rip off a mask and just be like, no, I don't know. I can't come up with a name that I feel like wouldn't be offensive. So I'm not even going to try to do it.
Appreciate you doing that within the first minute here.
Yeah, I know. I pulled it back.
The music, it's weird because when I started doing streams, I mostly did like podcasts. Like I would have like 3 people watch a stream and then like 300 people listen to a podcast.
Sure.
And just like starting a podcast without any music felt weird.
Yeah.
And then I was like, all right, so I'll just put music in front of the stream. And it's something like I've always done, but like there's nothing exciting about the intro video. It's not even a video. It's literally just like a progress bar.
Yeah, but it was good though. It's a good progress bar.
It's something. But thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I feel like I couldn't tell you the last time that we were on stream together. Was it for like a unique auction? I can't even. No, we must have done something.
We did a
else.
baseball one.
Oh, that's right. That's right. At the beginning of this season, it wasn't even that long ago. That was right. It was right when you launched your own Patreon.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
That feels like a year ago,
right?
That does. It feels like a while ago.
Sometimes I have to remind myself when I look at some of the things of like, oh, is this going well?
Yeah.
And I'd be like, it really hasn't been that long. But it also feels exceptionally long.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's weird because you try to tell yourself not to check in constantly on like progress. Like you have to have chunks of times, and not saying that you shouldn't be evaluating what you're doing regularly, but it can drive you insane if you're just like constantly checking and being like, well, we've been doing it for 3 weeks now. Let's see how many. The numbers went up a lot more the first couple of weeks and they're going up now. What am I doing? Like you just start spiraling aggressively. So yeah, that's why it does sometimes feel like it's been a long time when it maybe hasn't been.
Yeah. For those of you who have no idea what we're talking about today, it's basically just going to be this, talking about like content creation and how we just don't go crazy. Or we go crazy enough that it works for the content, I guess. This was something that I wanted to do with Mike for a while. And then I listened to a take cast with Mike and Davis Maddock. That's Davis's regular show. And I was like, man, I could talk about that stuff all day. And I think I messaged you after I listened to it and we just started talking and it was like classic content creator, like, we should do this on stream. Why would we have this conversation privately?
Yeah, we should try to at least make $2.75 off of this, you know?
Let's hope we can get to $2.75. Yeah, no, did we talk? So I had already gone, I had left Sober Data already.
I think it was within like the first week. I think once I saw that happened, I was like, hey, I need to do baseball. I haven't done anything. I think it was like within a week of you leaving. Yeah.
I think you're right. Yeah. And that's when I was on the high of starting it.
Right.
And I don't remember if I told the story on that stream or not, but I remember like, I'll never forget the day that I announced it. And I like set up the Patreon and I was driving to a basketball tournament for my son in Providence, Rhode Island.
Mm-hmm.
And on the way there, my phone just kept buzzing with emails of people signing up to the Patreon. And I was like, this is unreal. Like it was, and I couldn't
live forever.
Yeah. And just throughout that whole weekend, like I hadn't even like the only content I had done about it was that stream of like, oh yeah, sign up for the Patreon. Monday, I'll be on my own channel. And it was I now feel bad what I'm about to say, but it felt like there were like 10,000 people, 10,000 emails of people signing up. And then when I like logged in to see how many, I was like, shit, that's not nearly as many as I thought.
Well, yeah, no. And then you see like, okay, so this is how much a month, but we got to take out the Patreon cut. So how much is it really? And yeah, I mean, look, like there's an adrenaline hit in it. And it's funny because I do think you should still like celebrate that as a W when it happens. But it's like, okay, I don't know. It's almost like people who celebrate, this might be offensive, but people who celebrate their birthday for a month versus people who celebrate their birthday for the day. Like normal people will be like, oh, yeah, I'm celebrating my birthday. This is a fun thing. I'm going to allow people to, celebrate me. And then like we go on to the next day. And then when you do it for a month, and everybody resents you. But I think like being able to like enjoy those moments, and because that's something that I've like struggled with my I probably my whole life, but it wasn't until I started doing this stuff that I realized I wasn't allowing myself. I'm very good at allowing myself to dream about a thing and to aggressively pursue the thing. And then as I start like actually achieving something, instead of being like, oh, this is pretty sick, I immediately just push the goalpost back a little bit further and then just kind of spiral a little bit more. And I had a really good conversation with my dad about it. Maybe a year ago, because he started his own business when he was, gosh, I was in college, so he must have been, or it was right before I went to school. I think he must have been like mid 40s. And he had just started his own business, and he was telling me like kind of the same thing, where he was like, if I could go back in time, I would enjoy like the journey, the process of getting to these steps instead of consistently just being like, well, I have 4 employees now, and being like, holy shit, I'm paying 4 people full time to work for me. But instead, you're just like, oh, I need to get up to 8 employees. Like, 4 is not enough. Like, what am I going to do with 4? I need to get 8, right? And like, not actually enjoying it. So, and it's easy to say this in a conversation. Well, yeah, I'm not going to move the goalpost anymore. But it's just like a constant battle of allowing yourself to, just take some of the W's.
But is it like, is actually moving the goalposts, or is it just kind of like, this sounds like they're the same thing, but like you're kind of just raising your expectation or goals?
No. I think you should be doing that. I guess what I'm saying is like, if you're only doing that, you will drive yourself crazy.
Mm.
Like you will not find any sort of satisfaction in what you're doing, because you're just constantly almost feeling like you're chasing the stick, or like you're the carrot, not the stick. The stick, yeah.
Yeah, the
Carrot.
stick holds the carrot.
The stick holds a carrot. But you know what I mean? Like you're not actually allowing yourself to get, I don't know, to just appreciate what you're doing. You're just constantly comparing yourself to other people, or just feeling almost like less than because you're not at the next spot,
So, did you start your content stuff with Top Shot? Like your I'll call it your like traditional YouTube content.
Yeah, sort of. The first thing I did, I have this basketball podcast that I've been doing for 5 years now, called the 89 Cavs, with my 2 friends, Justin and Steve. And it's pretty regular. Like it's pretty weekly. I think sometimes we skip a week or whatever. But that started during the pandemic, and we called it Bubble Ball, I think. And what we would do is, because basketball was like the first thing to come back outside of like UFC, which I don't think recognized COVID. But like when the games were going on, we would do like a live stream, like almost like a second screen of while the game was going on. We would shoot the shit for a couple of hours. So that was like the first real thing I did. But the first like YouTube channel was around NBA Top Shot, and no regrets. Top Shot to the moon. We're still early beta.
I messaged you the other day because I was like, I bought my first Top Shot moments, and you were like,
call the cops.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
And I was like, I got 25 free dollars from Dapper. And you were like, oh, okay. And I've unsubscribed from the Top Shot emails 3 times already. And I was like,
no, you can't unsubscribe. It's like Hotel California. Once you're in,
yeah.
there forever.
I'm ready to hire a lawyer because I've unsubscribed so many times. So what was it about doing that? Like, what pushed you to say, like, I want to talk about this in front of a camera?
Well, I mean, probably like a crisis of like, what am I doing? I right before the pandemic started, I would say in September, right? So in September, I had been working in higher education for about a decade, and was like a director of residence life at Marymount Manhattan College. And it was like a pretty stable, on pace to like be a dean someday, I guess is what I was going to, or a vice president of student affairs, something like that. And I had moved to New York to do comedy and acting. And at one point, I was just kind of like, man, I don't know if I love doing higher ed, but more importantly, I don't know if I'm going to have a shot at doing like I got to do this for real to know if I have a shot at doing this.
Sure.
And then within like 2 months of quitting my job, basically the world shut down. So when that happened, I was just trying to stay sane and have some sort of creative outlet because I wasn't able to I was doing some like Zoom stand-up shows or Zoom improv shows, which are just garbage, but you're doing anything to like keep yourself sane. And I like when basketball came back, that was such a relief because I was already a huge NBA fan. I really enjoy like fantasy sports and gambling. And so to have something like that, I just kind of like threw all my energy into it because I was like, this will provide some relief and some entertainment. And then when Top Shot started happening, my buddy Greg, he was actually the one that I think told me about it. No, Overzet told me about it, but Greg had mentioned it at one point too. And we're like, oh, let's just live stream a pack drop and see what happens. Not planning on like doing regular content. And it was one of those like $1,000 packs or something. And true dapper form, if you didn't like clear your cookies the night before, you could skip the queue line. And so Greg hadn't, and we're both in line. Greg hadn't cleared his cookies from the night before, and I had, and Greg was like, I'm buying a pack. And I'm like, how are you buying a pack? I'm like, it just started. He's like, I don't know. They set them in line. And we had, for the first one, I think we had like 50 live viewers maybe or something like that. And then it was just, it was in the midst of the boom. And I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. And I saw, again, Overzet has been, for those that don't know, Peter Overzet does a lot of fantasy football content. He was like he's been a good friend of mine for a long time, and to see what he was doing with it. And we both come from a comedy background, and I was just really impressed. And it was very like inspiring seeing how he was just like carving out his own thing. And I was like, oh, I wonder if I could do something similarly with basketball. And yeah, so it was, that's kind of how it started. Honestly, it was more of a lifeline for me, I think, to just stay sane and have something like create a routine. I started doing it every day. That was like the beginning of it.
I don't know how many people in this audience knows Overzet because I tend to have more soccer and less American football content. But like I've never met Pete, but like I knew of him because I would watch his content when I used to care about the NFL. And I remember when you were like, yeah, Pete and I are friends. And I was like, wait, what? And like, I had never like known that connection. And then you were like, yeah, I was in his wedding. And I was like, oh, you're like really like you're really friends with them. And so anyone who is here who doesn't know that connection, I feel like everybody should know.
we were on flag football teams together and like a rec league basketball team together. And that was like right before we were like, we knew each other through improv, but I think we're becoming friends and like maybe like right before I moved. And then honestly, like he's the only person I still talk to on GChat. And that's like that's our primary form of communication is on GChat, which I think is one of the funniest things. I literally don't talk to anybody else out there except for maybe one other person. So it's funny that's what keeps the friendship strong.
That's so funny you say that because like one of my very, very good friends from high school, that's how we communicate.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I literally like have to clear out something, like find wherever GChat is now. And
I know, it's so funny.
Mikey Baston, who loves himself some content, said you were part of his daily routine during lockdown, even though he was still working.
Yeah, I like to kind of go back to the mind. Do you try to make sure nobody swears on here before I say, okay, to like continue to battle the mind fuck of all of this? When I was doing I started doing this Top Shot show. I think it was called the Morning Marketplace, which is now the NBA bit. And we were just basically like, oh, let's see how last night's NBA action impacted Top Shot moments, which I thought was cool because it was like, oh, this guy Devin Booker's been playing really well. He was on the Phoenix Suns at the time. They sucked, but they were like playing better. And it's like, oh, this might be a value buy because if Devin Booker's going to continue to play better, the Suns get better. The moment ends up being worth more. And so it was a really fun way to follow along with Top Shot because at that point, Top Shot was also telling you they were the Wall Street of basketball, basically, or the stock market of basketball, which they stopped saying that. But we were having like, 200, 250 live viewers every single stream. And so, and when you follow something like that, and then the market shifts so aggressively, where people don't care about it as much. And then you're like, oh, do I actually care about this as much? And if I'm doing a show that only like 50 live viewers are going to show up for, it better be a show you freaking or a thing you like to talk about. Because if it's not, it becomes a drag. And I probably talked about Top Shot for 6 months longer than I should have. Just like because I didn't have the same like passion for it. I was just getting pissed off every stream, which maybe people enjoyed, but I was angry.
But there was, I mean, I feel like there's always going to be that like core group of people who always show up and you're just kind of like, oh, I should just keep showing up for them.
Sure. Absolutely.
But you're right. Like once it becomes a drag, you're like, I just sit down here for an hour and I don't feel good about any of this. I know you guys might like it, but I don't like. That's the biggest struggle.
Yeah, because then when I started like talking just strictly about the basketball, and I would still include some of the Top Shot stuff, but was focusing more on the basketball itself. I was like, oh, I actually really like doing this. Like this part, I enjoy. Like I like having a reason to watch the games, to talk about the games. Like I enjoyed this part. And then, I was pretty nervous to cut out a lot of the Top Shot stuff because I thought I was going to piss people off. And I did. I think a lot of, especially once I started doing some So Rare stuff. I know I lost a handful of people that would stop watching because of that. But again, it's not as much as it is about the people who are tuning in. It has to be more about what you want to do, because then if you go get paid more to do a desk job, you don't want to do that. You know what I mean? Like go get fucking health insurance. Like I like you can't like do your like follow your dream passion thing and then just do something you don't want to do. Then it's like why put in all the effort?
Did Top Shot have like a affiliate program?
No, they at the very end that once no one was signing up anymore, they were like, oh, maybe we should do something like that. And then the affiliate program changed a handful of times, and then it was like it was credits or it was packs. But I mean, to So Rare's credit, they did a good job that first year of recruiting people and what their affiliate program has looked like. I don't know if it's still the same because I don't think I've got a new So Rare user in a year and a half. But which those are how those affiliate programs work, by the way. If you're somebody that's talking about So Rare content, you're not going to find a lot of new people because the people that are tuning into your shit are already there. And that's why like when they were finding Top Shot people to come talk about So Rare, it makes more sense because it's a new audience.
Yeah, I think that's one of the weird misunderstandings about affiliate programs that I feel like if people thought about it more, they'd be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But
right.
I did a show a couple weeks ago because I'm not in the So Rare affiliate program. And a big reason, and I said this to one of the guys who kind of like works for them, that I don't do content that gets signups to So Rare.
Right.
And so me doing the affiliate program, which in some instances is like, hey, we have this new contest. It's free to play. Make a video about it so that like people know what it's all about. And I was like, I don't do that. I'm not good at that stuff. I don't want to do it.
No, and I mean, you don't want to do it regularly. Like I enjoy at the beginning of every year doing a 101 type thing. And I'll pin that up on the channel. So like when you come tune in, maybe that's the first thing you see. I'm fine with that. But like no one's tuning into scouting for game week 45 is signing up for So Rare for the first time. You know what I mean? Like whoever's tuning into that content is already well aware of what So Rare is. I found though that like I think I probably did get some signups over the summer, and when I'm doing more, so like in season, I do a lot of like live before lock or value hunting or whatever. I do a fantasy like happy hours, whatever. In the off season, I do a lot more standalone like evergreen type videos.
Yep.
And those can find bigger audiences where, someone who does like Yahoo season-long basketball might be introduced to Underdog or to So Rare through a video like that, because it kind of applies to all of those sports. But those are the only times you're finding anybody new.
So at what point did you, like, what was the first affiliate thing that you picked up when the Top Shot stuff kind of stopped for you?
When it stopped?
Yeah, like when you stopped doing Top Shot, basically, like you pivoted essentially to
Yeah.
more fantasy sports.
I think I had Underdog around the same time that I was still talking about Top Shot. I think I was doing the Underdog affiliate program, which I think I've been doing that with them for 4 years now,
Yeah.
maybe. And that's just again, not like a full partnership type thing. It's more of 40 or $50 for every new user that you get or something like that. I've done a couple of other ones. Own the Moment, which was I don't know what they do now. But they were doing like analytics for NFL All Day and NBA Top Shot.
It was, yeah.
They were like an overarching sponsor for the morning marketplace for a while, and we would only use their tools and it'd be presented by OTM, and they were like our first like regular thing. And honestly, I make fun of them at times because they did the Jolly Joker thing, which I think was silly, but they weren't a partner at that point. But what I did love about OTM and I appreciate and will always appreciate is they like those are the deals that I'm more interested in, where they're like, we would like to use our stuff, we'll sponsor the show, where I'm making money off of using their tools versus only making money by spending my users' money, my
Yeah.
customers or fans' money. Because I think that is where you get into a little bit of a slippery slope, right? If you're constantly just like taking on these new affiliate deals, all of the money is not short sighted, because I think there still can be a lot of value there. But if you decide 2 months later that you're like, oh, I actually don't really like this product, or I'm not as passionate about this, all of your people that have like signed up now are like, dude, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
So it's really, because I got a couple. We did one with this company called Pookie. Were you familiar with Pookie? The Pookie balls, baby.
There are definitely people in the live chat who got into it. I never did, and I'm not really sure why I didn't. I think I think somebody tried to explain it to me, and because it didn't click immediately, I was like, oh, I'm just not going to do this. But
Yeah,
I kind of know what it was. I
yeah.
certainly know the name.
I can't tell you how the game worked anymore, but there was something really cool about it, where there was a fun thing about it.
So
Like
fun, you can't remember what it is.
No, I can't. I remember you were basically revealing clubs, I think. So like each ball represented a club, I think.
Wasn't it sports betting though?
Yeah. But oh yeah, maybe that's what it
With an
was.
NFT?
Yeah, and you were like yes.
Did
And
you have
they
to pick
were
the score?
you had to pick, you got extra, like if you got it right, you got like whatever, and then if you got the score right, it was like double or
Hmm.
something like that. And there were different tiers. And again, the idea of that was really cool, but I think we were like a last gasp run for them, and I think they like shut down pretty soon after. And then we did a couple of things, like we would like interview NFT projects that were getting ready to launch, and we did a very good job of vetting those. I think there was only one that I can remember that was just like a straight rug that came on. That was called Couches, I think, but I don't think anybody in our world bought one of those. I don't think. And then we did like Crypto Dads. We had them come on. That was a fun one. I think a lot of people made some money off of that. But quickly we realized now it's not a sustainable one too, that we
Yeah.
shouldn't be just doing that.
The reason I keep asking is because as almost immediately after I announced I was leaving Sora Data, I started getting these kind of messages like, "Hey, we'd like to partner with you." And really what that means is they want me to get people to sign up for their site,
Right.
which like I get it. I have an audience and
Mhm.
they think that maybe people who watch my content would be interested in their stuff, but the number of them, I mean, it wasn't like dozens. It was like a handful of them,
Yeah,
but
but
it was
still.
like, oh, I didn't know this existed. Oh, that's pretty cool. And then you kind of look into it and you're like, yeah, I'm just not going to be into that. But I also like have bills to pay.
Mhm.
And when someone's like, hey, we'd like to give you some money to do this. And I think people pretty quickly know kind of what you take because you have to pay bills versus what you're actually like genuinely about or
Yeah.
genuinely want to play it. But it's like, I don't know. I'm not that I'm overly struggling with that part of it, but that's really the most realistic way to like keep a channel running.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Financially.
I think it's, you have to have, I think if you do a good job if you do a good job with content, you will find opportunities with companies that you want to be partnered up with. And sometimes that means it is just like an affiliate deal for people signing up. Sometimes that's how it starts. And then you have, like, I'll get so rare, for example. And again, I still work with them. So all of this will be rosy colored glasses right now. I don't know why I added a Y to rosy, but they're rosy colored. Um, like they, the first year, the affiliate deal was great. And because it was all new people. So that honestly was like really good money. Like that's probably the most successful thing, like season long thing I had. Now, again, most of that money came in like the first couple of months. Cause again, once people start signing up, it's over. But then like the second year, they still did the affiliate link. And that's when I started expressing some frustration. I'm like, oh, this isn't what I want to be doing, but I still was doing like good work and like being like, hey, here's an idea. Here's something that we could do. Let me pitch this for you. Let me pitch this for you. And then like this past year, we had after like the Rocky year, this past year, after pitching and working with them long enough, we came up with an idea where like they broke the seasons up to where here are the deliverables that we like came up with together, and here's just like a flat fee for the deliverables. And I think like, and again, that's not going to happen right off the bat, I don't think, for a lot of these things, but I do think if you are able to establish like good relationships with the people from like the spots that you are interested in working with, you can find a way, but it takes a little bit of time, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the biggest problem I always had with affiliate deals was that, not that it runs out,
It
although
does
that
though.
is kind of part of it, but just signing up, like most of the games that I play, signing up is the cheapest part.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, I hate to put it in this context of So Rare, but like that's the content I do the most of, and I don't get like I don't get anything from So Rare to do it. But
Right.
it's like my content is not about signing people up, but it does kind of, not that it encourages people to spend more money there, but like that is what it is. Like you usually end up spending more money if you continue to play a game.
Yeah, I mean
And
that's why market their market incentive, like not market incentive, but instead of getting, for every new user, instead of getting like $25 or 25 euros or 0.25 ETH, this is not the same value.
no.
But like instead of that, they'd be like, hey, for every X amount of dollars this person spends in the first 3 months they're on the platform, in the first year they're on the platform. To me, that is like, I would much more appreciate a deal like that.
Mhm.
And granted, most companies don't do that because there's no reason for them to give out that much money
Yeah,
to you. But
it costs them too much. Yeah.
yeah. I was seeing too, just like a couple of people have mentioned the oversubscribe thing. Yeah, I thought that was a pretty interesting thing, which again, it's instead of doing, for those that don't know, and Andrew, an investor, for those that don't know, this was like 2 years ago, we started this thing with this company called Oversubscribe, where instead of doing like a Patreon, which is like $4.99 a month or whatever it is, they do like one big like investment run, so with the supporters of the channel. So you would say like you wanted to donate X or invest X amount of dollars, and then we had like a goal that we were hitting, almost like a Kickstarter or whatever, and I think the number was 20,000, I think, when we started. And then and I had a pitch of being like, this is what we're using it for. We're using it for editing, for graphics, for like networking, stuff like that. And then it helps like pay bills while you're trying to do it. And then in return, like you get a percentage of whatever we make during a 3-year run. So I think it was like 13% of all of the profit that comes into the NBA bid or team hold or whatever goes back to that group of people. Which I think was a really fascinating thing. And they've given me like a ton of resources, in the sense that I've met with people that like are behind the scenes at YouTube. I've met with like big time content creators. I've had a lot of, they like cool mentor program type stuff.
Mhm.
That's helped quite a bit. It's helped reframe a lot of the stuff that I'm doing. I've gotten a lot of good feedback. I think the one like challenging thing, and I wonder if you feel this way with Patreon just in general. I think the only downside for doing what I did with Oversubscribe is I just feel way more pressure than I did prior to doing that. Where I'm like, oh man, people are going to be so bummed if they, not even if they just get their money back, but if like you don't make money off of an investment, I feel like you're like, oh man. And I don't know how many people actually feel that way. I think a lot of the supporters are probably just like, oh, I'm happy to have a chance to participate in a thing like this and just like support you in a way. Thank you for the content, blah, blah, blah. But it's so hard to tell your brain that when you're just like, well, I've been doing this for 18 months now. And right now, if we're at this pace for another 18 months, I think we'll break even. Like, you know what I mean? And then it's
Mhm.
just, this shit's hard enough. I don't know. That kind of added pressure has been pretty stressful for me at times. But anyway, sorry, that was like a very long-winded thing. I just saw a couple questions about oversubscribe,
Yeah,
but
no.
those people are awesome. And I was like their first client, or their first creator that they worked with, and they have since blown the fuck up. They're people all over, from creators my size to people with like 100. There's some like movie creator that they're actually like, he kind of like crowdfunded a movie that now everybody has like a piece of, which is pretty interesting.
That's crazy.
But anyways, yeah, sorry. I apologize, long-winded.
No. We were looking for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I invested in that with the expectation I would get nothing back. So
Yeah.
you're doing a great job. If it's anything over zero.
Yeah.
No, I thought that was a super interesting concept.
Yeah.
But I totally appreciate that like the pressure that comes with that. And obviously it's like self-inflicted but it is what it is. You're going to feel however you feel.
Yeah. Well, and I think like I mean, I'm sure you felt this way already, only doing this for like a handful of like a month now, I guess, or a couple months at this point, right? Where like there, when you get on like a little bit of a run, right, where views are up and subs are up and like money's coming in a little bit, you're kind of like, this is it's the same thing when the NFT run was happening. This only goes up from here, man. Right. And so when it plateaus a little bit, it is really hard to wrap your head around that. So I do think when like the oversubscribed thing finished and we actually raised that money, which I'm still so like blown away by that we were able to do that, you're just kind of like, well, now I have this money. There's nothing slowing me down now. But that's just not how this goes. Like there are for sure peaks and valleys, or not even valleys, but like plateaus. Stuff does level off for a little bit. And it's just kind of like, how do you stay through that?
Josh asking if it's Robert Rodriguez who made Spy Kids, who did the
Oh,
crowdfunding one.
you know what? I actually don't know. I don't think they don't tell me names often, because I don't know if they're allowed to. I wonder if they're not allowed to share that business. Well, maybe they are. I don't know. No, I don't. That name doesn't sound familiar, but that'd be cool if it was.
Yeah, I didn't. The pressure that I feel from the Patreon thing is less about, and this is going to sound really bad, and I probably shouldn't say it out loud, but it's not about the people who continue to like subscribe. It's the people who have canceled. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm just like not doing enough to like make people want to pay. And the unfortunate thing that when people cancel, Patreon does this thing where you can like say why, and like nobody ever answers it because they're just like, whatever. And one person replied once, like, I just wanted to support him like one time. And I had like not thought of that because Patreon doesn't do like a one-time thing like YouTube has that like thanks
like super
button.
chat.
And when I read that, I was like, huh, I hadn't like, and then it's like, oh, how many people who are currently subscribed actually are doing this, and they're going to stop any moment now.
Yeah.
And
also though, the other thing you have to think about, man, like there are so many things that like I'm subscribed to that I forget that I'm subscribed to. And then I'm like, why do I have $250 coming out every month? And then like you go through and you're like, I have to stop doing all of these. Like I should not be giving $4.99 to 15 different YouTube people. And I think like that happens occasionally where you like don't know everybody's financial situation. They're like, I need to just like cut back for a couple of months. I would say less than like 1% are like, I'm fucking done with this Laird guy. This content sucks. I promise you, it's like none of that.
I hope that's the case. It's funny that you say that because I got like they go through Google Play, some sort of notification where it's like, oh, your $1.99 was deducted, your $4.99. And I was like, what are these? I'm like, oh yeah, these are just.
Yeah. I had 2 different YouTube channels paying Overzap for like 9 months. Because I did it on like my personal one and on the NBA Bit one. I'm like, wow, how?
And he's like, man, Mike really likes me still.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the biggest thing. I think what I'm like, I just get to the end of every month, and although I say this every month, I basically check it every day, but I'm just kind of like, how far can this really go? And I think I'm just having like a crisis of confidence lately.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just not sure.
Yeah. Again, to contact BetterHelp and get a promo code because I think you'll be talking about it a lot. Yeah, I don't think that goes away. I don't. I think you just find different ways to deal with it and understand that it's part of the process. I think I was listening to Jon Stewart was on with Bill Simmons today or last night, whenever it came out. And they were talking a lot about John getting started and what fame and all that stuff looks like. And I think there's this false sense of um, like this idea that things should pop off faster than they do because we see it and it's like on YouTube and everybody can kind of start their own thing. And you're like, man, if I just get like one viral clip, like we're probably there, or one video to pop off. And I just don't think that, I mean, I guess that does happen for maybe like sub 1% of like creators, but I think, and I saw some comments about this too, this is more of a long-term play. Like it has to be about community building and stickiness and engagement. And like that's how this stuff is sustainable and lasts, because that it has to feel that way. And I think all of the best stuff outside of Mr. Beast locking somebody in a closet for 365 days to give him $1 million or whatever, like outside of those types of things, I would say most of the successful ones are either anchored by a famous person, but I would even say in those situations that it still requires a community building effort on it. I honestly, I feel like I mean, let's see how I can speak about this without, I'm not trying to tank it, but not tank it, but like speak ill of it. But I got a really cool opportunity to start this show this past year with also the Nellis phenomenon. Hell yeah, Mike Basson. That's a great call. To start this show with somebody that's like pretty connected in the NBA space and in the sports media space. And it's been like when it was an in studio thing, which was cool, is a show called Hoop Sense. And it was very like, it seemed like this was going to be the easiest thing in the world to get to pop off. It looked really good. It sounded really good. Should in theory have more eyeballs on it because of the production, but also because of the person that I'm doing it with. But it's just like, that alone is not going to do it. Like it takes time and it takes this, like there has to be a sense of community building that's happening in it. People need to feel connected to it in a way that makes them want to come back, that makes them want to engage with it. And I think that just takes time. I don't think that happens overnight.
Do you think that we kind of I don't want to phrase this. Do you think we think that's more important because of what's happened over the last 5 years, that like the content that we've done had communities? And so like we kind of appreciate that community sense, but like not every, like there's no Mr. Beast community. I mean,
no,
he's probably a terrible example because there's just so many people that it doesn't matter. But like, do we think that building a community and maintaining that community is more important than it actually is because we've been in these communities and we have success with them?
Maybe, yeah, maybe there is a part of you that's like, this has to be the way because otherwise I don't know what I'm gonna do.
What else would it be? Right.
Yeah, what else would it be? But I'm thinking about Nellis here for a second, where and I'm not speaking for him by any means. This is just me as like somebody who consumes content. I am far less interested in the stuff that he's doing now versus the stuff that he was doing before. Now, the stuff that he's doing now, far more like eyeballs and reach and money and partnership and all that stuff. So maybe there's a needle that needs to be thread there. But I don't feel like I'm connecting with what's happening at all with those. And that's not to say that they're not good. I mean, they're incredible. I think they've done a really good job. But you see what I'm saying? Like that, I don't know. I think it's missing like the parasocial part of it, which I think is important. At least that's the type of content I want to do. So maybe that's what I'm getting at. But I don't know.
Like,
that's a good question.
At some point, do you get too big where you're like, I can't be a part of that. Like there can't be a community of 6 million people. And so like, maybe it just feels like you feel more separated from it because you're just like, oh, I'm one of 2 million people who watched this video in the last week.
I don't know. I don't think any of these are like a clear 1-to-1, but I still like consume No Dunks regularly, which is, for those that don't know, it's a daily basketball show on YouTube that started as a podcast called The Basketball Jones. Then they had an NBA TV show called The Starters. they have over, and they had to restart again from zero as No Dunks as a new YouTube channel, and they have over 100,000 subs, and I think they do a really good job of making it feel like a community. And maybe they do a couple of live events a year. They have a Discord that I wouldn't say they're like super active in it, but they got like a Discord running, and they like interact with the YouTube stream from time to time. But I think there is something. I think you can create community without having to be like, "What's up, Samurai? Thanks for tuning in, baby. What's up, Alan? Alan's in the chat." Like, you know what I mean? I think there's a sense of like creating community by the vibe that is set in the content that you're doing. Um, I don't know. I'm trying to think, like, even I don't know, what's the stuff that you watch or listen to regularly? Like, what are some examples that you like, stuff that you think it's important to tune that you tune into, that you also feel like have a communal type feel to it? And maybe you don't have those, but
Yeah, I pretty much, and this kind of probably brings up a whole other topic, but like I pretty much consume similar stuff to what I create.
Mhm.
And I think part of it is like I partner with this MFL, which you had asked me about a little bit ago. It's like this football management game.
Mhm.
And I'm like learning how to play. I really enjoy it. There is like a community part of it. And a lot of the content that I consume right now is like MFL content, seeing what other people are doing. But part of that is because I'm creating content about it, and I kind of
Mhm.
just want to know what other people are talking about and stuff like
Sure.
that. And my Sorare content has always been that as well. Like, um, let's talk about what people are talking about.
Mhm.
And when I launched my channel, I was originally going to call it Discord Out Loud, because most of the conversations about So Rare and MFL is the
Right.
same way, are like in Discord, and you talk to people through Discord. And I thought some of the conversations that were going on in the various Discords that I were in were worth talking about out loud, and like we in a live chat, and that's all it was. And so I'm in this position where that's a lot of the content that I consume now.
Mhm.
Now, outside of the stuff that I do content for is like way more like really gotten into biohacking recently.
Okay.
So not actually doing it, just like learning about it. Well, I do
Sure.
some of it,
Sure.
but so there was this guy like Gary, like two of my friends who I met through So Rare. Actually, one was through DFS, but like they really like Joe Rogan, and like I had never listened to Rogan, and I was just like, whatever. However, anybody feels about Rogan, but he kind of has a little biohacker in him. And so he had some guys on, and like I've been listening to Rogan recently, and it's like, but I'm not going to join some like Joe Rogan bro community.
No, but I do think there's still like I'm not like a super Rogan fan, but I do still think there is like community in that. And again, I don't think it's Discord or anything like that, but I think they're like when you are watching that, I do think you feel like you're a part of another group of people that are also watching that. Maybe not with him, because again, it's been a while since I tuned in. Trying to think of some other examples. I don't know. Like I listen to Stavi sometimes, Stavi's World, who's a comedian who lives like down the street. I think he's another one. Like, I guess he has a call-in portion, so maybe that's part of the reason why it feels a little bit more communal. Um, but I don't know. I do think I also see Josh's comment in the chat, and I do, and I think that is in like the crux of everything that we've kind of been talking about too. Like it has to, and it goes back to like doing content that you care about, because I do think the authenticity is the most important thing. And I think people like to kind of bring it back to what we were talking about. They see that within the brand deals that you're doing too.
Yeah. So the community thing kind of reminded me that, and I might have mentioned this recently actually, but one of the things that I really liked about podcasting, and this was like before I started doing it, but like listening to podcasts,
Mm-hmm.
is that at the time that I started listening to them, um, I feel like I'm saying like I started podcasting, but like
You're the first one.
I listened to podcasts a lot earlier than like other people I know.
Yeah.
And one of the things that was really cool about podcasting, which I think has continued, is it feels very personal. Like
Yeah.
if you're listening to one or two people, like it feels like you're in the room with them talking to them. And I feel like when I started doing it, and it was mostly about like DFS at the time, or fantasy sports, actually, like fantasy soccer, and then DFS and whatever. But it just felt very personal. And so people would contact me and like we would talk about that. And like that's how the community starts growing. And so the I just feel like the personalness
Yeah.
of it all is kind of like what starts to build that community, and also allows me to feel like I'm going to be part of that. But strangely, I don't get that with the Rogan thing, because again, like I know that I'm one of like so many people listening.
Sure. Yeah, that is an interesting point. Like if you get to a certain level, a certain status, can you no longer do it? I still think you can. I think you can. I think in the same way of like sports teams, like I still think that there's some sort of communal feel with the sports team. And even though like that's hundreds of thousands of people, I know that's not like a clear one-to-one, but um yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna have to think about this a little bit more. That
The
is
other
like
thing,
such a core belief of mine, like pre any of this. Like I
Mhm.
think if I have like one unique not to pat myself on the back, but unique ability is to make people feel like we're all rowing in a certain direction. And whether that was like doing content stuff, whether that was leadership development stuff. I mean, I've been able to make a lot of dumb things that don't matter get a big following. Like and so I do, and I think it's part of that. I think it is. I think that's what makes comedians really successful too. I think it's being able to, pinpoint a thing that everybody has thought about, whether you've realized you've thought about it or
Mhm.
not, and then kind of like pull the thread on it. Or at least that's the stuff that stands out to me the most. So I got to think about it more, how this relates to YouTube as you get bigger. But I feel like it's a little bit bigger. Also, I know I talked about Nellis a lot. I want to make sure everybody knows I love John Nellis. That was not, I'm not saying those are shots at John Nellis. I just am less like I have such a fond memory of like discovering him for the first time. So that is like what I'm almost like nostalgic for versus let's see if we can get that ham sandwich to Lionel Messi.
Took quite a cliffhanger, that one.
Yeah.
The Do you ever feel like you are not working?
Oh man, dude, I have so many like stressful moments about that, and or anxiety riddled moments in that, where it because sometimes this does not feel like work. Like I'm very excited to have this conversation with you and just like catch up, uh, and talk about this stuff. And sometimes it does not clock that this would be like considered work. And then I always have crisis of confidence of being like, I am 40 years old. Like, what did I actually do today? You know what I mean? Like, and like, I don't know what your schedule looks like. And you have kids, so I feel like you probably are able to, which brings its own stresses. But you're also like, well, I'm also dadding right now, which is pretty important. But like, my schedule sometimes will be, it normally is 7 to 10 in the morning. I work those 3 hours. I would say 7 to 11. It's probably closer to 11. And then I'm like, well, now I'm the one that's at home most of the time. So it's like taking care of the dog and doing like some other domestic stuff around the house, or errands or whatever. And then I probably work like 2 to 4. Sometimes it's 2 to 6, but normally it's 2 to 4, because then I'll also have some evening responsibilities, whether it's trivia or something else like that. And so it doesn't feel like a 9 to 5. And because it's like not a 9 to 5, you're like, am I actually working? So that's something that I'll go through phases of it too. Like there'll be some months where I'm like, nope, this actually makes a ton of sense. My schedule, I worked hard. It's okay Friday from like 1 to 3:30 p.m. Or maybe I'm just done at 1 on Fridays. I think that's okay. But then there will be times where I'll freak out of being like, I only worked did I only work like 3 hours today? Like you just kind of get weird about it. Is
Yeah,
that something you're struggling with?
it's I've had this problem actually for a long time, of just the literally stopping doing whatever I'm doing and be like, am I working right now?
Hmm.
And there are like people in the live chat who like during my streams are kind of like they they playfully but also truthfully make fun of it. Where
Yeah,
like I was actually talking about this on stream yesterday. I did a show like a year ago, where I cut open a pineapple,
great.
and I have this pineapple core tool that basically like twists through the middle of the pineapple and you can pull it out and you get pineapple. And I talked about it on stream, and somebody's like, you have to do that on stream. And I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll do it. And so I did that. And when yeah, like Chris here, Laird said he had no time the other day, and I thought, how? Like this is that, like that's exactly it. And so I remember the day I did that stream, the pineapple core like tool was out. Like maybe I left it in the sink or something. My wife was like, "Oh, you cut up the pineapple today?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did it on stream." And as soon as I said that, I was like, "Oh shit! Oh, let me have that back." And she was like, "What?" And she's like, "That's what you like. That's what you do when you're working from home." Like, and I was just like,
sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes I got to cut. Yeah. And so, and that was like as I was employed at Sorare Data. And so she was like, does like Maxime know that's what you do like on? And I'm just like, shit, what am I doing? And so part of the reason that I was like, oh, I need to go off on my own. And so like, I want to be able to cut pineapples and be okay and not feel like I'm not working. And then I'm like, what did I just think?
Yeah.
But the reason I asked that is because, and I think I told you about this. Do you listen to Colin and Samir?
I do not.
So they're like two guys who podcast about content creation.
Oh,
like they're big into YouTube.
Colin and Samir.
Yeah. So they did an interview with why am I blanking on the guy's name? Jack something or other.
Antonoff.
No, I gotta know. Conti. Sorry, Jack Conti founded Patreon, and I listened. So they interviewed him on a show once, and that literally convinced me to do Patreon instead of YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that he was talking about, they did this huge survey, and he was like, how do you guys feel that your basically like your livelihood depends on your creativity? Because like most of their content, at least like the YouTube stuff, is interviewing, but they do like a lot of coaching and seminars, and they host conferences and stuff like that. But like ultimately, like you guys have to think of the stuff that you do. And my mom had actually said this about herself like years ago. Like my mom worked on Wall Street, and so I still to this day don't believe what she said, but believe what she believed. But she was like, part of my job is to think, like, and thinking of like how to like present things or write things. And one of the stories that Jack Conti told on this episode was there was a guy who, I forget what kind of content he did, but he was like fairly successful at it, and ended up getting like a 9-to-5 job, like inputting numbers into a database, because he was like, I can't have my livelihood depend on my creativity.
Sure.
And it was almost like the constant need to have the creativity be what he does, like gave him a block, and he like stopped being creative. And I think about that all the time, that I'm like, because I feel like I'm constantly thinking about content that I'm going to create or stuff that I'm going to do in that I need to do for the future for the people who subscribe to my Patreon. And I was like within the last it's been just over 2 months that I've done this, but like the number of times where I'm like, maybe I should just go get a real fucking job. And I don't know if that would help actually.
Yeah. I come at it from, I totally understand that POV. I believe like, and maybe it's just from muscle memory at this point. Maybe it's coming from an improv background and a comedy background. I just know that like you get through that like sometimes the best stuff comes from those moments, and that you just have to keep, needling, and you'll get there. That's like what and sometimes it's not the best stuff. Sometimes I'm not like, okay, maybe that's not the idea that I thought it was going to be. Maybe I thought this was going to go in a different direction. But I've also been in situations where the creative juices are flowing, and I think I've got the best thing in the world, and then the execution happens, and it's like, well, why didn't this work? So like I've seen greatness come from what I thought was a terrible thing, or having nothing and just being like, we gotta go and we'll figure it out when we get there. And we've also had moments where I'm like, this is going to be a beautiful piece of content, and it's like, it's not what you thought it was going to be, or people didn't like it the way that you thought it was, that like they didn't like the execution of it. So I get it. I mean, I think about getting a job every other day. but I've now narrowed it down in the sense that I will only take a job that makes sense with what I'm doing here. Like I've actually had a couple of opportunities that have almost happened, and that has been like the new rule that we've had with my wife. It's like we've put too much time into this now to like completely pull the plug on what we're
Mhm.
doing. And to anybody watching, I'm not saying I'm going to pull the plug, but it's like I was like, okay, but maybe there's a job within the NBA, or maybe there's a job within like a company that is kind of not parallel, or like just makes more sense with what I'm also doing.
Mhm.
That will allow me to still do it, but maybe it just looks a little bit differently. I've definitely thought about that at times, but I don't know. There's something and maybe it's blind confidence, and I like believe that I'm good at this. And
Mhm.
so like I'm going to keep doing it, and have to believe that the audience will be found. And again, everybody take a drink. Now I'm saying coming from the comedy background again, but I just know that this is not, it takes, when I started doing this, all the advice that I got from the comedy side was like, this takes a decade. You have to do this for 10 years before you like find your footing. And I think it's probably similar with content. Maybe it's not 10 years, but I think like, you got to put in the work.
Yeah. Um, this one hit. Simon said, if your content's based around your hobbies, it must be difficult to draw a line as to when you're working and when you're trying to enjoy your hobby. That's the biggest thing I had with
Mhm.
SoRare. Like when I worked for SoRare Data, and it was like, is me playing SoRare working?
Yeah. Yeah,
And
probably.
at some point, it felt like that. But I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, I've said this a bunch, where this is the by far the hardest I've worked at anything.
Mhm.
Like, and I just realized I did not, you don't like know you didn't like a job until you kind of get the next thing sometimes. And I was like, oh, I guess I like wasn't passionate about education, because now I found something that I'm passionate about. And I don't think it's like new partner thing. It's not like I got a new girlfriend and you're like immediately comparing to previous ones. It's like, no, I'm physically working way harder at this
Yeah.
than I was at anything. And I get that is like a weird balance to find of like hobby versus work, but I don't know. You just like figure it out as you do it.
Yeah, but I still think most people would love to be able to do their hobby as work
Yeah.
or yeah. Yeah, yeah.
I do have to, one of the things I struggle with though is like making sure like what's the line between, maybe venting about something that was difficult versus like complaining about the job,
Mhm.
at least with my significant other, because like, you're, this is the dream scenario. And to then bitch about this in the same way that you would like bitch about another job.
Mhm.
You're like, "Hey, man, you're choosing to do this. Like, you're choosing to do this, and this doesn't have, like, the financial windfall. Like, it's not like it's golden handcuffs, like, oh, man, if I stop doing content." So, like, if you don't wanna do it, you just don't do it. Go find something else to do. But yet you still have to be able to complain about your job a little bit. It's just like a weird balance.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people who do content would love to get filthy rich doing content.
For
But
sure.
the reality is that we're choosing to do something we really like
Mhm.
over getting rich.
Exactly. Exactly. Although I was in education, so I don't think there was a world in there that I was getting rich in.
That's fair. Um, yeah, I don't know.
How are you feeling? How are you feeling like a couple months into it?
Um, I so today, uh, I wasn't sure if I was going to bring this up. In fact, I told you I was not going to bring it up, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. Like Sorare Data announced today that they're closing,
What? No.
and I think I think one of the things that I keep looking back on is like over the last 2 months, like I could have just gone and gotten another job.
Sure.
Um, I say that very confidently. I have like no actual skills and or prospects for a job, but I'm sure I could have found some.
Yeah, you get a
Um,
job.
but I really like doing this, and I wanted the opportunity, or I took the opportunity to see if it was like doable.
Mhm.
And that's when I started to learn more about. I mean, not that I didn't know about affiliate programs and sponsorships and all that stuff, but it was kind of like I think because I had been a company employed content creator for literally like my last 2 jobs,
Mhm.
that I underestimated makes it seem like I knew everything, but I was like, I think I just didn't appreciate how big of a role. affiliates and sponsorships play in content creation.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I was like, I wanted the Patreon to be able to be big enough where I didn't have to do that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And now it's like, I'm not sure that's realistically doable, at least in the short term.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel that. I feel that. I think about that a lot too. And I keep assuming, I just thought it would happen faster with like some sponsorships where, the one, what happened? Did we shut it down? Yeah, baby. That was nice. That was good. That's good. You want to end it?
The thing that gets me the most.
Yeah, but I would like to have seen more overarching sponsorships or partnerships that weren't just like affiliate based. Like I keep assuming those are going to happen at a faster rate than they do, and it's weird. Like because you hit these milestones or you get more exposure with stuff. Like I mean, I went on the Athletic NBA podcast a couple of times this year. I've had like some amazing experiences. Some really cool things have happened. And you just are like, you're like, yeah, but when is the money coming? Like, when is more money coming? And I do think no matter how much money comes in, I'm sure that's going to still be the thought process. And I keep reminding myself that. But yeah, that part is, and it is weird too. Like, I think I don't want to speak for you, but when you start doing this, you're like, well, I just turn the camera on, I create a thumbnail and I'm just going to do content. And that is the job. And it's like, no, man, you're like cold emailing different brands or partnerships. You're trying to do so many different things. You're learning about SEO. You're learning about like all of this stuff. And then what's crazy is the algorithm shifts by like a half inch. And then you're like, oh, so everything I was doing for the last year actually actively fucked my channel now. Yeah. Like no one should do another YouTube short again, unless your entire channel is YouTube shorts. There's your advice.
So it's funny you say that. And this is actually a point of like considerable frustration that I've had lately. And this is going to sound just awful, but my son is 14.
Okay.
And he has a friend who started a YouTube channel.
I know where this is going.
And within like 6 months, he's had it. Maybe. He's at like 35,000 subscribers. So the content, so for the first like couple months, he was never on screen. And it was just him speaking over 45 seconds of him playing Fortnite.
Sure.
And I would watch these videos because they're like, hey, look, there's this latest video. And it's just, I'm old.
Yeah.
And so it's not for me, but it's just like colors and and it's just spinning. And I don't even know what he's saying. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And they were like, yeah, he's like trying to build his channel. I'm like, oh yeah, how many subscribers do they have? And they're like 17,000. I'm like, what? And they were like, yeah, look at this video. And I like watch it. And they were like, this has 200,000 views. And I'm like, and I'm sitting there like, what am I doing? Like, why does my video have 12 views?
Right. But
I'm speaking to like an adult.
Well, first of all, that audience is so different, right?
Yes.
Like that is such a different audience. But also, I mean, it's been proven that those types, like this goes back to the community thing. There's nothing sticky about those. So they watch that video and it's going to push them to the next YouTube short, the next YouTube short. If he listen, maybe not, maybe this kid is a genius and this could absolutely be untrue, but I think it's a lot harder to get that many views on a 45-minute video than it is on a 45-second video that is a short. Like the algorithm is just way different. And then when you start doing long form videos, but your YouTube algorithm is used to pushing out short form videos, you're not going to get the same like retention on stuff. It's just like it's just so hard. It's so hard, but that's crazy that he's 35,000 is nuts, man.
That's what he's up to now. In fact, it's probably higher because that was like the last update I heard, but he's actually started like live streaming now because they were like, oh, that's how you like get he jumps into the analytics and everything. And his dad's like, it's actually like a really cool, like teachable moment of like learning about analytics and all that stuff. And I was like, this kid shouldn't even go to college.
Yeah.
Keep doing it.
He's rich now.
Yeah. That actually reminded me kind of what you were saying about the algorithm. That's another one of those things about one of the other topics they talked about in that Colin and Samir episode. Because Patreon the whole point of Patreon is to like create communities. Like that's the idea. And the thing that they were talking about, not only that, like if you're a content creator, you're essentially at the mercy of the platforms, because if you try to create something that goes viral, like they have to decide if it goes viral or not. It doesn't matter. But he was saying that if you're in a band and you do a video and you have this like really good call to action to like buy a t-shirt or go buy a ticket to their upcoming show or whatever. And he was like, if you have a TikTok video that's excellent, that like within the first 10 seconds, I was like, oh, I'm going to go buy a ticket to their upcoming show or whatever it is.
Gone.
TikTok stopped sharing it because all their analytics say somebody watches this video and they leave TikTok.
Sent them somewhere else.
Yeah. And they were like, so you have like an excellent video to do and it's doing exactly what you want it to do. And TikTok's like, nah, we're not going to share that. And he's like, that's also like, how can you survive like that?
Yeah.
And that's
you have to make Instagram content for Instagram. You have to make TikTok content or content for TikTok, for YouTube. Like you can't, very rarely is it transferable because the algorithms know that's what it's doing. So it's like, we don't want to reward that. Yeah. Yeah. I basically am done doing like all my short form stuff that I put out. I'm now only putting out on TikTok and on Instagram. And I'm not even like putting a link to YouTube on that. I'm like, I'll have a link in my bio. Hopefully they find it after that way. But I'm not, it killed I built up, I would say on long form subscribers, I built up a number for the NBA bit that was probably realistically like 7,000 to 8,000. Now the channel has 11,200, I think 11,200. So I would say like 3,200 of those are from short form. Like when I started pushing short form a little bit, and now because of that, it's just like completely nuked the algo. And it doesn't like push out the same because it says, oh, wow, you're only X amount of people who subscribe to your channel are actually looking at your video. So it just like continues to dwindle down. Yeah. And it is a bummer, which is weird because for like a full year, everyone's like that. You got to do shorts, man. They're monetizing shorts now. You got to put shorts out there. And then it's like, lo and behold, that's actually bad.
That was the shorts were like a funny thing for me because when I was at Sorter Data and then when I left, it's like the content that I do is like so niche that like nothing I do is going to go viral.
Right.
And so it's like, do I even spend a second thinking about it?
Yeah.
And I didn't. And I'm just not, and I'm like, but that's how you grow a channel. It's very weird like that.
And I mean, you can still do it. Like, again, Pete has done a great job building his up organically over the last, 5 or 6 years. Oh, I guess he's been doing it for like 10 years now. He just did a newsletter on that. And he very rarely does any sort of, I don't think he does any YouTube shorts now. I think he puts them on Twitter and TikTok. So it can be done. It's just, there's no like, YouTube shorts felt like a hack and it was hacky instead.
So Josh works with Nepenthes, who has, I don't know how many subscribers Nep's up to now, 2 million, I think. And he says, sometimes I think the YouTube algorithm is really complicated that I don't even know what a spiffing Brit video is and realize it's still incredibly gameable. I gotta look it up. This is gonna be bad, I think. Spiffing Brit. Is this a person? Oh, it is. Extreme Civ 6, 4.25 million subscribers.
It's pretty good. Pretty good.
Here we go.
Oh wow. 4.4.
They play video games? Is that what they do?
I wish I was better at video games. I wish I liked something that would I wish I just liked football. I feel like if I liked football. Actually, you know what has been an interesting thing? I started working with this a company, and I made a new YouTube channel that it was just pretty niche. It was just it's just Celtics. It's just like Celtics content. I haven't promoted it at all. Outside of like the first time I did one, I like told people I was doing it, but I haven't shared it. I don't talk about it at all. Outside of right now, so nobody say a fucking thing. And I just do a video every single day. It's like 10 to 15 minutes. It's not like there's not a ton of editing that gets involved. It's just kind of me straight to camera with some overlays, just talking about a team. So we've done it now. I've done 20, I think today's the 29th video. and they take care of all of like the SEO behind the scenes stuff. And the last couple of days, we've gotten a video that's like 1.7K views, 1K views, now like pretty regularly, at least like 250 plus, but now they're starting to pop a little bit and almost at 60 subscribers. And I'm just like fascinated by this stuff. And it's been like a case study to be like, okay, let's see how this works without me sharing it, without me being this is just like the YouTube algorithm doing some stuff. It's wild.
It feels like the number of subscribers is just not important anymore.
Nope, you just need 1,000 so you can monetize.
Right. I think it was a different, I can't remember what podcast I was listening to about this, but they were basically saying that like the only time the number of subscribers matters is when you're trying to sell try to get sponsorships and stuff like that.
Right.
Where you can say like two channels that have the equal number of views, but one has 100,000 subscribers and one has 10,000, like companies are going to go to the 100,000, even though the videos get the same number of views.
Yeah. Those companies are starting to get smarter too. Like my wife actually works for somebody who that does like face care stuff. Like she's an esthetician, but it's kind of like a fancy one. Like she sees Laird and Zendaya and stuff like that. So, but they work with a lot of influencers to do like brand product placement and stuff in the videos. And my wife was telling me like they are actually way on the other side where they do not care about like subscribers at all, and they're way more interested in like click rates and stuff like that. And they like will ask for those. Like they worked with a couple of YouTube channels that have like sub 1,000 subscribers, but because of like the stickiness, they know that it's way better to put money there than it is for like a channel with 400,000 subs that just doesn't have the stickiness.
I mean, it kind of makes sense that most people, I think, don't go to like their subscription feed to get their latest YouTube content.
No, yeah, I don't think so.
So like, who cares who's subscribed?
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, because I most of the stuff, because the people that I subscribe to that I watch the most is always in like the recommended videos. When those like No Dunks is in there, the Ringer stuff is in there, your stuff's in there. Yeah, there you go. You're in the recommended feed. So anytime, I feel like I'm blanking on some other people, like Overzet stuff's in there. But I very rarely look at the subscriber one.
Yeah.
Or subscription feed, excuse me.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I don't know. I think the number of subscribers, and this kind of makes sense because when I left So Rare Data, like I took the channel with me. So like everyone that had subscribed to that one had subscribed to like So Rare Data. Now, granted, I was the only person on that channel. So like.
It was your channel.
But it was, But I've actually, like the number of subscribers I've had on the channel since I left has decreased.
Oh, interesting.
Like literally by 1%, maybe not even, but like it's certainly not growing. And I don't do much to like try to get it to grow because I would rather people join the Patreon. But like,
for
it's
sure.
weird to see that like there's just almost no movement whatsoever.
And you started another new channel too, right?
Yeah.
The MFL one.
Yeah. Like I viewed I thought I would be able to have my channel be like the Laird channel, and everything that I do is that. And just the way that YouTube works, they just don't like that.
Yeah. That's why I started the new one that was just fantasy sports. Like that was, and those numbers do better with less subscribers too, every single time. Although I think I might have nuked it too. It's so interesting doing So Rare content because I almost only want to do So Rare content at the beginning of each sports season and then stop. And I don't really want to do that because I love doing Live Before Lock, but I almost want like Live Before Lock to have its own channel because I do all this off-season content that is a little bit more evergreen. So if like for the whole basketball specifically, but for like 4 months, you're just kind of like getting ready for the new season. And so all these videos, like we had a bunch of them get like a couple of thousand views on it. And then you start doing the live streams for like Live Before Lock. And early on, it's great. We got like 300 concurrent viewers or whatever. But then by like January, that dwindles down to like 125. And then by now, I mean, I don't do them for the playoffs for the most part because they're not useful. But by the end of the season, it's like maybe you get to 100. And then so like all your views just kind of slowly go down over the course of the season. It's like it's a weird spot to be in.
So that's a weird thing that's happening with So Rare Football right now is that the game used to be like very much a 12-month game, and there would be like a drop around now just because European seasons are over, but it wasn't nearly as drastic as it is now. And it's just exhausting to do stuff this time of year.
Yeah. And the weather's nice. People like going outside. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's a different, but there's just way more excitement at the beginning of a season
Yeah.
than it is at the end of the season because less teams are in contention at this point. Like it's just not. Oh, what part of the football season are you at, right? Is it like MLS time right now? What else is going on?
Japan and Korea.
Okay.
Yeah. Norway.
Oh, Norway's still balling, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. They play in the summer because it's too cold in the winter.
Okay.
Which makes sense.
All right.
But yeah, like all of the European leagues either ended last week or they end this weekend.
Right.
And then it's MLS and that's it. And somebody had commented in one of my live chats the other day, I think when I was talking about how like Patreon didn't take off as like it hasn't continued to take. In fact, it's like, well, I'm about the same. But
yeah,
someone's like, yeah, the season's ending though. Like, was that good timing for you to do this? And I'm like, man, I can't look back at that now. And partially it wasn't my own decision anyway.
And like, whatever, those people are going to support you anyways. And then, maybe you get a big uptick at the beginning of the next season. And I mean, one thing that I'm constantly doing with the paid stuff is just like trying to find new ways to engage people with that and like find new avenues that people might find useful. And just like being open to not necessarily rebranding, but being like, all right, well, I like doing this stuff for the paywall. I didn't like doing this thing, so I might take this thing away and let's see if I can add another thing to it, and just like keep tweaking it.
You may have a different opinion on it just based on the comedy background, but do you basically consider yourself like an entertainer?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think so. I don't think I like to think that I know what I'm talking about with basketball, and in like the fantasy space, I do think I'm pretty like sharp. I bet there are people that are way smarter than me at this stuff, and even people who tune in. I know like some much sharper people than me who have had more success in it. I think I'm pretty good at breaking down stuff in a digestible way that is entertaining. So, like, I don't know if anybody's tuning into me being like, man, I need to get the best basketball information that's out there. I don't think anyone's being like, get to the NBA bit. I like to think that I just am able to talk about it in a fun way.
So I literally did that yesterday because I was just like so sad Wednesday night when the Knicks lost. And I was like, I didn't want to listen to anything. I didn't want to watch anything. And then finally I was like, let me just see what Mike says about it. And I watched it. Made me feel slightly better.
Yeah, that was insane. There are Celtics fans who are like hate watching this series. I'm not of that mind. I just want to see like good basketball. So like as just a basketball fan, I was riveted for that. And I can't believe that's how it went down. But also as a basketball fan, I'm rooting for the Knicks tonight because I just want a long series. I want more basketball. But it does seem like whoever they play, whoever comes out of that series, I think is going to get waxed by the Thunder. The Thunder look like world beaters right now.
I've officially gone down to there's no way the NBA would have an OKC Indiana final.
I know. You would think. Not in David Stern's lifetime, but maybe in Adam Silver.
Maybe. Who's a Knicks fan, though?
That's true. I don't know. I'm nervous. I can't. You guys lost that game. That freaked me out. I thought you would go up 2-0 and then it would still go 6 or 7. I think losing game 1 like that. This is. I mean, obviously, you have to win tonight.
So, it's over if they lose. So one of the things that you said, and I told like 10 people this line, and you were like, "It's hard enough to win 4 games."
Yeah.
And now the Knicks have to win 5 because they had that game won.
Yeah.
And it's like, as soon as you said that, I was like, fuck, he's right.
I mean, that was the Celtics thing. Like the Celtics, again, the Tatum injury happened. I'm not trying to discredit the Knicks at all. The Celtics were a much better team than the Knicks. And then you do that not once but twice, and now you have to beat them 6 times. Like this, and the Clippers did the same thing in that Nugget series. They blew 2 games. It's like you can't
do it.
Yeah, everybody's good right now. You can't do that. So they got to win tonight. They got to win tonight.
Yeah, one of my buddies was like, "This is the Celtics in game 1," and I'm like, "Don't say that." And then I was like, "Shit, it is exactly the same."
That's what I tweeted out. You guys took the wrong lessons from that series.
Yeah. I was hoping this was going to end on a high note, but man, I am now very depressed.
No, oh well, dude, thanks. This is great, man. Thank you for having me. I always like talking about this stuff, and it's been cool seeing you do your own thing. And I know it's always I said mind fuck at the top. I'll say it at the end. It is such a when the highs feel awesome, where you're like, I can't believe I'm doing this for work. This is so dope. I love what I'm doing. Like sky's the limit. And then the next hour, you're like, what have I done?
I'm like, I am hopeful that I'm just getting out of the what have I done phase.
Yeah. And it'll come back too. I mean, it ebbs and flows. Yeah. And I think it's just, and I think the sharpness in which you feel the highs and feel the lows like dull over time, like it doesn't go away, but you don't get too up on anything. You don't get too down on anything either. And yeah, just don't check the YouTube studio every day. Don't check the Patreon count every day. Put it in your like calendar where you're like, okay, on Thursdays, we'll review some analytics. Like, don't you do it every day. You just go nuts. It feels good. The adrenaline hit is nice when it's happening, but it is not good when it's not happening.
Yeah. No, I feel that. No, thank you for coming on. Yeah, I mean, like I said, we could do this every week.
Yeah, let's do it again.
Yeah, we should. Where should everyone support you? Where's the best place to support you, Mike Zakarian?
God, in your hearts. Yeah, you go check. Listen, if you like fantasy sports, go over to Elite Fantasy Sports on YouTube or just search Mike Zakarian, it'll pop up. And then I also have a more of a daily show, which actually, and this could be a whole nother thing that we talk about. But I do the NBA bit, which right now is a daily show every Monday through Friday at 9. However, I think after doing some YouTube reading, I think I'm going to test it out in the off season, but I might do 3-hour blocks. Do like a Monday show that's 9 to noon, and then a Thursday show that's 9 to noon.
Ooh.
Yeah. Instead of doing Monday through Friday. And then do paywall stuff Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday.
Oh man. I can't believe we brought this up now. We'll have to do another show on that because yeah. Can you Yeah. I will only add one thing from that. In talking to Nepenthes, because we talk about YouTube stuff a lot, he was like, you should just stream all day. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, and he's like, because he does like literally 8, 10, 12 hours. And I'm like, dude, I can't do that.
Yeah.
What are we talking about here?
Yeah. If I was 20, maybe I can't do that now. I gotta like stand up. My back hurts. My back hurts right now. I went to a concert last night. And it was a lot of fun. My wife's a big James Bay fan, and James Bay was in Brooklyn last night. And I just stood for 2.5 hours. I am in so much pain today from standing. Washed, man. Washed. But yeah, they everything like Overzet was talking to me about it and sent me some reading, and there's the math is there. You got to be doing more than 2-hour shows.
Huh.
I know, which sucks.
Yeah, that's a long time. I'll have to we'll talk about that a little more.
Yeah.
Maybe not now, because you have 2 more shows today.
Oh yeah, 3:00 and 6:00, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't expect us to go this long.
No, this was great. I was glad we kept going.
I feel bad. Where your last stream today would be like, guys.
I know.
We'll see. Anyway, thank you everybody for coming. If you could please subscribe, even though I'm not sure any of that stuff matters anymore. Join the Patreon, patreon.com/Andrew M. Laird. Oh yeah, shout out to Quinny. And happy Friday, everyone. Enjoy the weekend, Memorial Day weekend for those in the States. In fact, I think I saw somebody mention earlier it's a bank holiday in the UK already.
Oh, so hell yeah. That. Happy bank holiday, UK.
There we go. Love a good bank holiday. Anyway, thanks everyone. Make sure you get outside.